Hello, Meow Meows. Thank you for your time today.
We have many things to discuss in our third series, Self.
Discovering ourself through love and understanding.
Uncovering what gets in the way.
What are the love languages we value and how we communicate them?
Falling in love and getting married to you.
Finding a giggle in yourself today.
Creating a reality with passion and purpose.
Alrighty, Meow Meows, let's get connected with ourself. Hi, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. Good. So, we have a cool episode today. It's love languages.
It's so fancy. It's so fancy. Love languages and where your value lies.
Yes, which I love. And I actually don't know anything about love languages.
Which I love.
I know. We love that. So this is an episode where Kyla teaches me something.
It's so fun. It's so fun. You've always asked me, you're like, are you sure we want to talk about this? I don't know anything about it. I was like, yeah, that's why.
Well, maybe I was just avoiding it. It still might be an area of uncertainty for me. And because I'm not very clear in it, I tend to shy away from it. So it's good. We dive in. Let's dive in.
It's cute. I noticed.
Meow. I get small.
You get small, but I'll make you big. I help you get big.
So a great question to ask right off the bat is, how would love languages relate back to self? If this is the series Self, how can knowing your love languages and where your values lie help you understand yourself more?
Yes. So I'll definitely dive in a little bit more, but to start, it's because love languages are different and values are different for every single person. And being able to understand what they are actually helps us understand the relationships we have with ourselves and then with others. So I find it personally, I find it important for yourself. Yes.
Yes.
It's very important.
Yes. Very good. Well, Kyla, right off the bat, let's go into it. What are love languages?
So I actually didn't know this. I think this is super cool. So love languages was actually identified by Gary Chapman. And in 1992, he published the 5 love languages, how to express heartfelt commitment to your mate, which is so interesting because the love languages are unique ways in which humans can give and express love. It's ideal because there's 5 love languages, and it's ideal to utilize and use every single one of them, but having the ones that, but being able to prioritize the ones that speak truth to you the most and accentuating those while being able to observe how other individuals are able to receive the love. That sun's gonna get you today.
The sun's gonna get me today. I can't wait. I'm like, all right, let's rush through this episode before the sun comes out.
It's gonna go eyeballs.
No, it's fine. So, okay, so there is a set, as far as we know right now, there is a set 5 love languages,
Yes.
correct? All right, what are, go ahead and just list all of them and then dive into what each one of them are.
Of course. So there's words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Many. It's like, which one do I have?
Right.
I have no idea. So to start, this is one that rings true to me very much. There's like a lot of them do, but I love the words of affirmation. So words of affirmation is speaking and hearing verbal words that communicate love. It can be speaking authentic or being very empathetic to the person that you're speaking with and listening to them speak and genuinely hearing them, not just letting them ramble on, but you have no idea what they say, but
Right.
communicating and connecting that way. Having dear appreciation. I tell so many people I appreciate them because I genuinely do, whether it was just something that they cleaned up, like, oh, I appreciate you so much for that. Or I appreciate your time just speaking with me for a couple moments, giving me your light of the day, even if it was for 2 minutes. I appreciate it.
And you really do that.
I love, with the words of affirmation, a big one is giving compliments. And it can even be giving compliments to yourself. Like getting up and be like, Kyla, you are so beautiful. Or Kat, you are a miraculous human being.
That's so fun.
It's just so simple. And it gives you those feel goods. And not for everyone. It may not ring true to every single person. But I know these feel good.
Right.
If you get them, or if you don't get them, giving it to yourself, you can do.
Especially with that one, I can see how that would work for someone and not work for someone else.
Yes, because every single person's different.
Of course.
The second one is quality time. So having those one-on-one interactions. The biggest thing is, and one thing with me and Montana's relationship, it was he loved quality time, but I didn't know how to give it the way that he needed to receive it. Obviously, eye contact is a huge thing. Having genuinely looking at the person in the eyes, having that conversation, hearing them, speaking them, seeing the passion and love, or whatever it may be, through the eye contact while actively listening. And having that one-on-one interaction isn't always sitting on the couch and watching TV. Don't get me wrong. That was totally me in the relationship. I was like, well, we are spending time together if we're watching a movie. It's like, no, it's not the same thing.
Well, and maybe it's you both have a different definition of what quality time is.
Yes.
And I was going to ask if, because we mentioned too, it's kind of like putting the technology down, putting the distractions down, and that's quality time. But, if to one person watching a movie is quality time, but then to the other person it's not, I mean, both sides are valid, I guess you could say,
Yes.
but that's what needs to be communicated.
And having that accommodation. And what helped me realize is it's not the quantity, it's the quality.
Yeah.
And when I realized that, I was like, oh shit. I was doing the quantity of the quality time. So I was like, oh, well, we're sitting together for like 2-3 hours, but we didn't have that quality interaction of that eye contact, that active listening, that talking, because we weren't even doing any of that. We were just sitting there.
Right. Well, and imagine how the other person would feel on the other end, where it's like you treat time with them as a task.
I know. I feel bad.
Yeah, no, and it's okay. It's not to make you feel bad.
No.
It's really just to, when we forget that time should be quality, not quantity, then it just kind of becomes like a task list of something to do, and you're kind of trying to complete something else while you're also trying to do that. And
It does.
I totally feel that.
It does.
So what's the next one?
The next one was receiving gifts. So this one can be up and down for some people.
So this would be the one for me where I'm like, oh, I totally see that working for someone else. That would not work for me.
Yes.
I don't receive gifts super well.
You don't, but I know you enjoy it, because it's like, oh, don't get me anything, but thank you so much. Oh my gosh. So receiving and giving gifts is expressing your love by giving people thoughtful presents. It doesn't have to be a present, but typically you do expect to kind of have the same in return. An example would be, okay, I found this little trinket at a thrift store, and I was thinking about you when I saw this, and you're always on my mind, and I appreciate you so dearly, so I had to get this for you. Instead of buying it and handing it to you and say, here you go, I got this for you, genuinely speaking how or why that rang such high energy for you, for that other person, expressing that gives that love.
Yeah.
Even more so in the gift. You can also, with receiving gifts, gauge the reactions from the other person. So if you are always writing love notes or like little compliments on the mirror, on the fridge, and on the door for your significant other, or even for yourself the morning when you get up, it's just to feel good. It's like, oh, I love this so much.
Yeah.
And if, say you do it for your significant other and they like freak out, they're so excited, they're like, oh, that made my whole entire day, thank you so much, then you have an understanding of, oh, they actually really like those little simple surprises. I can do that more often.
Yeah.
And then you are able to be observant, or even more observant, and understand them even more so. And it's so simple.
That's beautiful.
Oh, goodness. Another one with like receiving or giving gifts. It could be putting someone, okay, not always this, I not always like this, putting someone like on display, or maybe like being around their friends, like, oh, this is my girlfriend. Look at her with her damn good outfit. Like, oh, this is so good.
Some of these really seem like they're spilling into words of affirmation.
Yes.
And I can see that a lot of these love languages will kind of like complement each other. Yeah,
they intertwine with each other.
But so is receiving gifts the idea of doing something unexpected?
Yeah.
Or yeah, the surprise aspect of it, maybe.
Yes. I wouldn't, with receiving gifts, I wouldn't expect like, oh, I need flowers every day.
Right.
No.
Well, and it's not like you also
special.
need like special words, like
No.
or compliments, like.
No.
So I see the intertanglement.
Yes, with every single one of these 5 languages, I find it so interesting is that they all tie in together in one way, shape, or form, even if one speaks more true to you than the next one. One of my favorites, all of them are favorites, but one of my favorites is the acts of service. So this one is performing tangible tasks for your loved one, like preparing dinner meals before they get home, cleaning the house, changing the oil in the car. Simple things, but things that help to bring comfort to wherever you're at. And it's paying attention to the small things, like when, like what I said to you earlier. So when, if I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I really hate taking the trash out. I don't feel like I have any energy, and it's such a simple thing to do, and I feel ridiculous, but I just don't like taking the trash out. Like, it's not that it's gross. I just don't feel any energy to do it. Well, if person next to you says, well, I don't like vacuuming. So is there any way we could compromise? I would love to take the trash out for you. That doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
If you wouldn't mind vacuum. There you have an accommodation, and it's still a task to get done, but it gives you a little ease of, oh, I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
My partner or that person's going to help me be able to accomplish these things.
That's wonderful.
And acts of service, all of these, doesn't matter. All of these are going to require time and sometimes preparation. Doesn't matter what it is, but understanding that it is simple and
that it can be simple.
It can be simple, yes.
Right.
If
simple
you want.
Things. Very nice. All right. So what's the last one?
The last one. This one's so fun. This one is physical touch. And not everyone likes a physical touch. Some people hear that and be like, oh, no.
Yeah.
No. Don't touch me, which is fine. So this may be for the people that need to be or want to have that physical affection to feel and express love by kissing, holding, cuddling, having that skin to skin connection. So it could be as simple as waking up in the morning and holding each other bare if you sleep naked, or not, just holding each other. Yeah. And it could be for 5 minutes before you get up. I used to not do that when Montana would want to, he would wanted to do that every morning. And even if I did have time, I still wouldn't, because I'm like, I have to get up. I have to do this. I didn't take my time to give him the love and affection that he really, really, really wanted.
Yeah.
That could have helped him for his day, but that's fine. So one thing I like about the physical touch is that physical touch actually releases oxytocin, which we've talked about quite a few times. Those are your feel-good hormones. And when the feel-good hormones are released, it makes you feel like nothing can hurt you. That you feel protected and you feel safe.
You do. You feel so safe.
And physically touching your partner, whether it's just holding your hand or a hug or holding yourself, it builds a bridge and increases the feelings of connectedness.
Right. Well, and it doesn't have to be necessarily like super intimate.
No.
Either. It can be things like just rubbing someone's back and just like and hugging them, or like tickling them. And
love it. Like with play fighting, that one's always fun.
Something I'd love to mention on this is one of my friends had a status, and he was like, it really sucks when your love language is physical touch, but you don't want to be seen as creepy. And
Aw.
I was like, fair point. And he was like, I need to be held, and I'm a hugger, I'm a holder.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this might sound crazy, but like, have you ever tried to hold yourself?
Ooh.
And I don't think many people want to hear that, and I don't think many men want to hear that.
Mm-mm.
But I'm just like, I was doing a stretch. It was just a yoga stretch, and it was a really basic one where I'm just kind of like bowing down and I'm like stretching out this leg. And I put my head to my shin, and I just kind of like rubbed my face against my leg, and I felt the same connection that I would have felt like with another person. I almost felt like I do think I cried. And I felt actually held by myself, if that makes sense. And now often every time I'm stretching, I make some space to just hold myself. And it's super sweet, super cute, super probably one of the more hippie things I've done in my life. But I'm like, have you ever held yourself, man?
It's so good.
It's so good.
I love that you brought that up. I'm just like, ooh, yes, 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 yes.
Well,
yes.
and I think it's so important to say with any single one of these love languages, figuring out which one means the most to you, but then making space for you to provide these things to yourself.
Yeah.
It's great that you can communicate this to your partner. It's great that you can think about this in your relationship, but the most important relationship in your life is the one you have with yourself, not the one you have with your partner. That one comes so second. It comes so second to the relationship you have with yourself. So how could you incorporate quality time? How could you incorporate words of affirmation with yourself, to yourself, from yourself?
To yourself, from yourself. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes.
So asking again, kind of like, why these things are so important, which I think we just touched on, because everyone's values are different. They're very different, and everyone's love languages are different. But if you don't know what language you're trying to speak and what language they're speaking, then you're speaking two totally different languages.
I would have to agree with you on that
Of
one.
course.
It's definitely important to find, I mean, if you want. I'm not telling you what to do.
Of course.
You are welcome to do whatever you want. But I find it personally important that finding the ways that you are driven to express love while you are able to accept love, it helps you in any relationship you are in, with any relationship with yourself or with another individual or even with your family member. Having those connections and understanding of how they are able to receive or give love helps you or assists you in understanding them better and communicating, of course, with yourself, but with those other people, with the beautiful 5 love languages. But one of the better questions I would say is like, why do they matter? And like what you just said, everyone expresses love differently. And understanding that everyone expresses love differently and finding the connections through, or like finding your own love language or love languages that speak true to you, there's a lesser amount of miscommunications because you're understanding yours while being observant of the other person's love language. And meeting them where they feel they need to be met. Even if you aren't fully communicating that helps to talk about it. But if you're not, you're able to be observant of, oh, this is how they react when I do this. Okay, I can do this more often and make them feel this love because I know I can be able to give that to them. I like that too because you're able to steer away from a lot of disappointment that tends to happen in a relationship, because sometimes, more often than not, people don't feel like they are being understood and feel that the other person doesn't love them the way they need to be loved.
Dude, using the word disappointment is so fucking important too, because I think I've mentioned this in another episode, but rather than letting ourselves feel disappointment, we will put anything in front of disappointment. I don't mind the sun. The sun is fine. The sun is fine. If I have to close my eyes or if I sneeze, it's we're great. Just the other day with my partner, he was like, it's hard for me to know what you want, especially when you have this expectation and then I'm not meeting that expectation that you're not expressing.
That makes sense.
And it totally makes sense, but I immediately went to a defensive because I was like, well, I wouldn't say that. I don't have an expectation.
But
and then a few hours later I had to be like, I did have an expectation, and I was disappointed because I didn't have my expectation met, and I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I had an expectation that wasn't being met. And I had to basically dismantle my ego quickly to be like, hey, sweetheart, it is okay that you had an expectation that wasn't met. And like, it's also fine that they didn't meet it because it was never expressed. You weren't even willing to admit it to yourself that you had this expectation. I think more meows need to hold a little space for themselves when disappointment arises, because it's going to arise. And look at how many disappointments stem from not having a clear understanding of what your love languages are and what the other person's love languages are. Ouchie.
Because the love languages is a good way of starting to find who you are. Whatever that looks like.
So if someone has never asked themselves before, how would someone figure out what their love languages are and how they enjoy receiving love languages?
Literally research. It can be as simple as going to the library. Obviously, COVID, it's a little difficult right now.
You know what? We're just going to link online and keep it as simple as possible.
Yes. I got a couple of links I found a few different ones, lots of research. I'm trying to find which one works best, but I really like the ones from Science of the People and the tab. They help you be able to dive a little deeper into how to receive the love and give the love.
Yeah.
With love language that you do have, with the love languages that you do have, what values do you think may come up from that?
So, and I don't know exactly what my love languages are. I think I know physical touch is really important to me. Quality time is important to me. And probably words of affirmation.
Probably. I'm excited for you to take your quiz.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think definitely my partner's love languages are more acts of service. Like, I can tell he really appreciates that. And he really appreciates receiving gifts as well. Well, and I mean, he gives gifts.
Yeah, he does.
And he's so good at giving gifts. And so I don't know if that would be his language, but I see where my value is quality time, and I value presence. And, to me, I suppose it's like, I want to be seen the way I see myself. And so if I feel like I'm not being seen in that way, if I feel like I'm not being received for like the divine,
You can do it.
if I feel like I'm not being seen as the divine creation that I am, or if I feel like, the people I'm with aren't seeing themselves as the divine creation that they are, I'm kind of sad, and being seen is something I really value, and being heard is something I really value, and
feeling worthy.
I suppose those would be my values.
I love that.
What would be some of your values that stem out of your meow meow?
Meow meow from your meow meow. I find that value is love and brain.
It's the sun.
Value, it's not even in my face.
No.
Value of love is dedication and devotion to something or someone, especially yourself. And for me, those values are trust, communication, self-discipline, and honesty.
I should have written mine down. You had yours written down.
I did. That's okay. I find those definitely important, and working through those, I would say, like, obviously, words of affirmation. I do enjoy, like, the physical touch, but I really like the non-intimate physical touch. That's what really, like, makes me feel loved. It's like, oh, yeah, play with me. Have fun.
Play with me. Yeah.
Go to the park and have fun. I don't care.
I think, too, so much of it stems from your childhood.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't want to say it's a direct representation of what you lacked in your childhood.
Could be.
Or what you craved more in your childhood. Or maybe it's just a manifestation of what you craved and you just want more of it now.
Those are good questions.
These are great questions. But for me, I I know that I worked so hard to love myself, and especially loving myself unconditionally, that is what I expect from my partner. And I'll feel hurt if I don't receive the love that I'm trying to give to myself. But then I look at where I was as a child and I'm like, well, I don't think I could have gotten enough attention. So of course that quality time, of course those words of affirmation, and of course touch, and not just intimate touch. But you're right, like just play with me. Just play with me, because I want to know that you see me.
Ooh.
I want to know that you see me, and not that you just see me that I'm here. Like, I want to know that you really appreciate me being here. And I want to know that you appreciate me as much as I appreciate me. And if you don't, I just...
Yep, you said it.
Yeah, I did say it.
You did say it.
That means a lot to me. That's where the values are. And it's probably a direct representation of where I was in my childhood.
It could be. It's very interesting. I guess I didn't think about that aspect.
I didn't think about it until you said it too. So
I don't know, but I'm going to look a little bit more into it. We'll let you know later.
So, well, in the original title of this episode, love languages and wrote where your value lies. Do you think that values can lead into boundaries? If you know where your values lie,
yeah.
Is that what will prepare you to create boundaries for yourself?
I think so, because boundaries help you live your values by allowing you to feel grounded, connected, and aligned with your inner truth. So I feel like they go hand in hand. Do you think they correlate?
So, and I would say they correlate if people were aware of their boundaries, but I don't think people set boundaries for themselves.
Well, and a lot of people have a misconception of what boundaries are.
I didn't know what boundaries were. And I was in a relationship where the whole relationship, I kind of have this idea of oh, well, how dare this person, how dare they keep doing this to me? How dare they take advantage of me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And my sister just one day says, I feel like you really need some boundaries. And here I am in this relationship where I have all of these expectations that aren't being met without a single boundary in place. And so I'm just victim, 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 where I've never actually created space for myself and what the threshold of a healthy space for me is.
Yeah. And
that was probably 3 years ago that I first made a single fucking boundary for myself. Yeah. And
That's
a boundary isn't you shutting down and being fuck that person forever, I'm cutting them out. No, that is actually an ego obsessed expression. That's what I would call that. That's not a boundary. No. A boundary is immediately recognizing it doesn't work for you. And however your ego reacts to that, there's that. But it's expressing that boundary, at least out loud to yourself.
And saying no.
And then actually saying no.
Yeah.
And then actually saying no.
And following through with your no.
And
because that's your boundary.
With your no. Yeah. So, I think they can correlate. The more values you realize you have, the more boundaries you can put in place. And in that way, they could correlate. But I think people have to be in the habit of making boundaries for themselves, which so many of us are not. I still struggle with that all the time.
That's okay.
All the time.
That's just how we learn. That's how we grow, by not knowing and then doing, and not knowing and doing. So how do we love? Feel love, long for love. What is love? Meow. That's a lot. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I think we love love, don't we, Kyla?
Of course.
We love to love, and we love to feel love, and we love to give love.
It's the human nature of love.
I think it's human nature. I think it's probably one of the most important parts of being human. And to know that there's languages to it.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, that's been a really important lesson for me to learn last year, to even know that there are languages to go along into it. And so now for this year, 2021, it's going to be really exciting to dive into that from a more educated, loving perspective.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
I think it's beautiful. So beautiful.
Yes. So,
Love languages.
if you had to pick one love language for yourself, Kyla, which one would you pick?
Words of affirmation.
That's a close one. I thought that physical touch was mine, but really I'm just like, it's way closer to words of affirmation or quality time.
I think those are very, very true for you. From knowing you, you love the quality time.
I do love quality time.
But the quality time of being there and speaking with each other and having those connections and those conversations.
Gosh, what's really important is for us to do...
Bless you.
Pardon, son. What's really important is for us to do a second episode about us giving these love languages and how not just how we receive these love languages, but how we like give them, because I think I really struggle with giving quality time. And isn't that so interesting?
It is interesting.
I think I'm pretty good at giving words of affirmation, but I'm very bad at giving acts of service. And I'm not very good at gifts. Well, I'm not good at gifts in the way that I don't give it a lot of thought. And so...
But you're very good at the physical touch.
Yes, I am good at touch. I'm very good at touch. I'm proud of that.
And you're very good with your words of affirmation, too.
Exactly. So both of those I'm very familiar with. But Kyla, I've never asked my partner, what is their love language.
Because they might not know.
Right, exactly.
But it's something that both of you can work on. Be like, all right, let's take this quiz. It takes me less than 5 minutes.
Right.
Literally less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's such a small thing to ask of two people to just get a little bit more acquainted with each other.
And it helps yourself too of, oh shit, yeah, I do really enjoy having these kind words, compliments, because it gives me positive feedback about me and my life.
I don't even care that the sun is in my face. It feels so good.
I bet that vitamin D probably feels great.
Sun. Oh my God. I love the sun.
Yeah, let's go enjoy the sun.
Okay.
All right, Meow Meows. Again, both of those grand links are all the way down at the bottom. Go check them out if you want. I highly suggest if you're curious. If not, again, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
But... Of course, again, have a beautiful Tuesday and a lovely rest of your week. And Kat, I'm excited for our walk.
Yeah.
Bye.
It's going to be cold, but we got it.
It'll be fine. Maybe. Or we're going to just go get a little tea and get warm.
Yeah.
Walk to get tea.
Oh my goodness. All right. Have a beautiful day, meows.
Bye. Alrighty, you lovely meows. We love you deeply, and we thank you dearly for joining us in our journey today.
Subscribe to the 6AM Meow Meows to get notifications for future episodes. If you wish for more meows in your life, you can connect with us on Instagram for questions to ask yourself, writing prompts, as well as tips and tricks related to today's episode. And, of course, cats.
If you're more of a visual person, find us on YouTube for the video version of these podcasts. Or you can join the conversation on Facebook. Share what you think, what you learned, or something you would like to add to our discussions.
To get in touch with us, or if you have any questions, email us at the6ammeowmeows@gmail.com.
And all of these links will be listed below, so just scroll on down to get connected.
As always, we are learning through this journey, so your comments and perspectives are a fundamental part in helping us gain understanding and shifting our current realities.
Again, thank you for your time, and have a perfect rest of your day. Goodbye, beautiful Meow Meows.
Goodbye!